Hello and welcome back. My name is Crashy, and today we're going to be talking about some Fortnite, per the usual lately, and I wanted to kind of talk about something that I myself in the earlier days of playing found myself trying to understand and learn and focus on. So obviously you can tell I love saying that. It's one of my favorite things about making videos because you already have more insight on what the video is about than I do kind of at this point while I'm recording. But put that aside, you can tell from the title we're talking about why you might not be improving, or in general how to improve at Fortnite. And this isn't going to be a long video. This is going to be very general tips, things that I think it's important to think about, because when you don't have these thoughts and these ideas in your mind, you tend to either build like bad habits or just play the game kind of, I don't know, air quotes, incorrectly. And, you know, the repetition of that exercise leads to inadequate gameplay. Now, I have no doubt in my mind that anyone can improve. It's how I always feel about things. You can practice, you can improve, and your understanding and your perspective of the game is no different than your in-game mechanics. So, I kind of want to just talk generally. You know, whenever I'm trying to improve, when I'm really in the mindset of trying to get better and improve, the first thing I do is I try to cut out all the excuses. I try not to say like, oh, well, I didn't have shields. And I do, that's my biggest one. I'm the biggest, you know, victim to this one specifically, because it is a pretty valid, you know, argument, but you can still try to find your, you know, your window of opportunity. So, you know, try to cut out the excuses. Oh, I didn't have shields, or, oh, you know, I don't know, he used the grapple gun and got above me. You know, find your win condition. If you have to edit down and, you know, reset, if you have to run from the fight, if you have to, whatever you have to do, find your win condition. Try to cut out the excuses and be objective with what you could have done better. You know, look back at your replays or just think back to the fight and say, ah, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have peeked that shot. Maybe I should have waited, or, you know, something like that. So try to cut out the excuses in general and just focus on your own gameplay. Do your best that you can to, you know, find those win conditions. And sometimes understand that there's nothing you can do too. That's part of, you know, understanding that some situations there probably isn't a win condition, because that does happen. The next thing I would say is to focus on your early game. Now, I think this is another thing that I struggled with a lot in the earlier days of playing Fortnite, even still do. I'm just really impatient. I want to get out of the bus, I want to go fly somewhere, I want to grab some loot, and I want to fight. And in public games, usually the first point of interest is kind of like one of the most stacked places, that and like tilted towers. And if you're always jumping early, if you're always just trying to get out of the bus as fast as you can so you can play the game, well, think about like what your percentage chance of finding a weapon is when you're surrounded by so many people. What is your percentage chance of making it out of Pleasant Park right at the start of the game, rather than stretching your landing, taking it a little bit slow, farming some materials? So it's like, it depends on like if you really want to improve and if you really want to get some wins, or do you want to play for kills. I find that Fortnite has kind of two play styles to it, and ultimately in a public game the goal is to win, but honestly sometimes I just play for kills. So in general, if you're trying to play for wins, if you're trying to improve in terms of the actual BR game mode, stretch your landings out, farm some materials, get a really comfortable base of shields, of, you know, weapons and materials, and then push into the mid game with that arsenal. Ultimately, I'm just saying, like, hey, you know, you're raising your percentage chance to get screwed over in the early game if you're landing, you know, right outside the bus. So stretch your landings. It's something to think about. It's something that I've done, and you know, I kind of call it like taking the game more seriously. You're playing them more like it's a scrim, and ultimately you'll probably find some more success. And lastly, the thing that I think is really the difference between a good player and maybe a great player is not someone that just can build, but someone that can quickly and kind of almost seamlessly move throughout their builds with their edits. So if you're playing on console, you know, practice your editing, practice getting in and out of walls. If you're playing on PC, make sure that you have comfortable keybinds. This is always a good tip in general. Make sure you're following some good keybinds. You know, find something that makes sense. Look up some pro player keybinds, you know, find some for yourself that work, and go into Playground or go into games and practice editing. You know, building is great. Fast building one buys, turtling, you know, spreading out and turtling is great, snaking on the ground. But you have to be able to get yourself through builds. You have to be able to quickly cut off, you know, the corner of a, you know, of a wall, or cut out the floor, or cut out some stairs, and be able to catch people off guard. This is how I get a lot of my kills. And it's not saying that, you know, that's my skill, is that I'm just a great editor. It's just that's the situation I find myself in, where instead of just building over someone, I can build over someone, cut my edit, and go for a kill. Or I can turtle in a 1-buy or a couple 1-buys, edit out, and, you know, re-push for high ground. So practice your editing. That's my, like, 3 tips for the day. Like I said, these are just some things to think about. It's a way to change your perspective on the game. You know, building is great again, but editing and getting better at editing is a skill that sometimes I think is overlooked until you kind of dive deeper into wanting to improve at the game. So thanks for checking out this video. It's just a short one, something to think about, something to change up the way that we're thinking about the game and maybe the way that we're playing. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I appreciate you for checking out this video. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next video.
Do you feel your bones start to shake? Do you feel the earthquake? Do you feel the fire inside of me? Do you see the sparks that I'm setting free? Does the beat take you over?